And I don't need this microphone, although the microphone is here.
It's just there to be there.
It's like a prop.
Yeah.
My name is Bob Ganzak, and this is Motivation U, the podcast. Hello, coming to you live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. This is Motivation U, the podcast. My name is Bob Ganzak. I'll introduce our guest here in a moment. A couple of things I want to share that's going on at Dale Carnegie World, and everything that we're doing in this region from Tallahassee to Jacksonville, from Gainesville to Tifton, Georgia, and all those spaces in between. You can find it at jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com. jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com. So why Jacksonville, Bob? Well, our franchise is licensed to Jacksonville. That's why we do that. We care about Gainesville. We care about Tallahassee. We care about Valdosta, Tifton, Douglas, Waycross, Cross City, Live Oak, Perry, every place in between. And we work with all of those communities. So you can find what's going on within our franchise at jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com. And of course, every Thursday we come to you from here at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. And if you have not been here yet, you've got to get to this restaurant. The food, the ambiance, the wines, the museum, everything, the people you see here, the pictures that I see that Urban Meyer was in, and this individual and that individual, and Coach Napier, and amazing. Just get out to Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. It's exit 384 off of I-75. Come to Celebration Point, and you will find it there. One last thing. I will introduce our guest in a moment, and I prepped Heather for this, that I had to get something off my chest today. Other than technical difficulties we had at the beginning of the program, I get my gas at a service station, and I go to the same one all the time. And if you have noticed, gas prices are quite high these days, nosing up to $3 a gallon at times, mostly in that $2.89, $2.90, $2.91 area, sometimes $3.05. Why can't they afford to put the paper in the roller that gives you your receipt? I'm like puzzled by that, because you're paying more for the gas, yet they can't get somebody out there to fill up the little thing that spits it. Do you want a receipt? Yes. Today I got gas, no receipt, went back in to get a receipt, and there were two people in front of me that were getting receipts, and they get looked at in an odd way, like, why are you coming in to get a receipt? Well, fill up the paper and you can. It's customer service. And that's all I want to say about that. I'm not going to mention who it was, what the company is. It's just like, take care of your clients, especially those that come back often, all the time. It's a smart thing to do. Heather Parker, Tyler's Hope. Welcome to the program. Second time you've been on.
Yes,
Well, last time you brought an entourage.
I did.
You brought like everybody in the world to come and join you. Today it's all you.
It's all me.
So-
I don't know if that's better or worse.
Well, Doreen's not here. Uh, She was with you last time, and somebody else was one of your board
Stephen
members.
Tanner, one of our board members.
Board members,
came.
yeah.
Yes.
That was like, well, we know when it was. It was April 14th of
'Cause we looked it up.
2022, because we had to look that up. You almost got to see that over again because we were having some technical issues here. Heather, what is your role as executive director of Tyler's Hope? Share with me.
So my role is kind of all encompassing because we only have one staff member. That's me. So I do all the things. I mean, I take care of the books. I organize events. I organize volunteers, work with our board, work with the researchers, talk to the centers of excellence. I'm a one-man shop, a one-stop shop.
Well, that's kind of interesting because we talk about leadership all the time, and we immediately think about leading our team, our staff. And you're in an extremely important leadership role, but you don't have a staff.
Yes.
Yet leadership, like, kind of crosses borders and boundaries sometimes. So you're working with other individuals and other organizations. How do you exert your efforts in leadership when you don't have that team?
I do a lot of kind of, I wouldn't say recruiting, but I do a lot of reaching out to people and getting people involved in different aspects of the organization. So whether it be an event or a research project that we're working on, it really is a lot of, once people see what we're doing and the good things, the progress that we're making, they want to be a part of it again. So after that meeting, they say, what can I do to help next? So there's a lot of delegating, but it is a lot of me working on trying to let go because I'm very much a control freak.
So delegation is one of the toughest things to do in leadership.
Absolutely.
I mean, because we misconstrue some of the things that we call delegating, and it can be dumping, where I don't want to work on this project, so you take it.
Right.
In our leadership training for managers program, we have a wonderful system that talks about delegation. And as a matter of fact, one of those classes are coming up in Jacksonville too. It is one of those things that is difficult, and it's frustrating at times too.
For sure.
Especially when the individuals don't work for you.
Right.
How do you get that done?
It's really difficult. It is really difficult because I have to work around your schedule. So if I say, Bob, can you help me with this? You have a job.
Yeah.
So this isn't your job. So I kind of have to make sure time management is huge and making sure I give you enough allowance to do the things that I need help with.
How many board members do you have?
We have 22 board members.
Do they, what is your interaction like with them? Are they active or?
Very, very active. I talk with the board members pretty frequently, and it's more of a casual kind of a conversation a lot of times where I just say, hey, how's everything going? How are the kids? They've got sports and things like that. So most of the time there's very little Tyler's Hope talk that's happening, but I feel like because of that, we've built these relationships that they know I'm invested in them, they're invested in me, and it's a great partnership.
I noticed Ed Potts on your list of he's been on this program a couple of times in the last couple of months. He's been in, and the Ronald McDonald House, and having individuals like that, on a board that are so active, it's incredible. You had mentioned that Tyler's parents or dad is still the president of the board.
Both his
Both,
parents
both.
are on the board. Yep, but yep.
And how active are they in like helping you motivate
Oh,
the community?
huge. It's huge. So Tyler's Hope is very intertwined with Rick is the CEO for Intermed, and Tyler's Hope is on everything. So our logo is on all their sleeves. It's on everybody's signature. So they're doing their part to make sure they're spreading the word and getting people to ask questions. What is this foundation and how important is it to you? And it takes over everything at Intermed. So anytime I need any help, and somebody from there is willing to be a part of it and give me the support I need.
Give us the history of Tyler's Hope. What happened? How did it happen? And how did we get to 2023?
So we were founded in 2006. In 2005, Tyler was diagnosed with dystonia. It's a rare disorder, so there's not a lot of awareness. There's not a lot of support to do any research, or at the time there was not. And when that happened, Rick and Michelle decided they weren't going to sit down and take it, and they were going to push. So they basically raised a ton of money and reached out to everybody that they could find that was even remotely in the field and brought them together and said, hey, this is what we're going to do. What do you need to make this happen? And that's how a ton of these partnerships. So we've supported UT Southwestern, Penn State, Duke, UF, all over the place. VIB in Belgium. I mean, we're all over the world. We basically have he went out and found these specific specialists and pulled them into our foundation. And everybody is. I mean, they're still all a big part of it.
So dystonia is, what does that affect?
So dystonia is a movement disorder.
Okay.
When someone suffers from dystonia, they have cramps. They have muscle contractions that can cause cramps and twisting, repetitive movements. It's really painful. It was described to me best, I think, by one of the patients as you have a Charlie horse forever. Like it never goes away. There's times where it gets better, but it's forever painful. And it can affect all different parts of your body. So you can get dystonia just in one single part of your body, or you can get dystonia in multiple parts of your body. The dystonia that we really focus on is DYT1, and that is childhood, so it affects children.
And what is the lifestyle for somebody that gets dystonia? To help draw a picture for people that don't know what the disease is. What is the future of that child that gets dystonia?
So these people all live normal lives before it starts to kind of kick in, I guess you would say. So when that happens, it starts getting progressively worse and worse. So whatever area it is affecting. So it can affect an entire side of your body. So if the right side of my body is affected, it will start to get progressively worse. It does that for a while, and then it plateaus. So you're kind of stuck where you are. It doesn't affect your cognition at all. So you're just basically stuck in this body that won't cooperate with what you want it to do.
Like something like ALS, which is basically a death sentence eventually. How long can you live with this? I mean, in normal life?
A normal life. Yep. You're just kind of trapped in a body that won't cooperate.
Usually wheelchair bound, or
depending on what part of the body it affects, but if it affects your legs or your lower part of your body, yeah, there a lot of times these individuals.
Hereditary?
It is. It's genetic, yes.
So how do, like in Tyler's case, have they been able to track it back to other generations, or?
Yeah, so and it's a recessive gene, so it's not I shouldn't have said it's a recessive gene, but it's a gene that doesn't necessarily have to present, right? So it's there, so I can be a carrier, you can be a carrier, we can have a kid who is not affected, or we could. So
So it's not every, does not happen every generation.
correct. So for instance, the Stobbs, they have 3 children. 2 of their children have dystonia, but 1 does not.
That's amazing. I wonder what goes on in that child that does not. You know, how do they think? You know, was I lucky? What? You know,
He's
as a
insanely grateful, grateful to, but also very aware of what his brother and sister deal with every day, and he is their biggest cheerleader.
you know, it's those quiet moments when you're by yourself in your thoughts and there's nobody else around, and you think to yourself, "Wow, what could have been." My daughter has juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and she's coming up on her 38th birthday, and it's in remission. She got the virus when she was 7, and it was the first couple of years was extremely difficult. And probably around age 11, 12, it went into remission, and it's been there ever since, which is great. Yet, like in my instance, I always know as her dad that can, at any age.
Right.
Her doctor had JRA as a child, and when we first met her doctor, she was like you and I, just ambulatory, and by the time we were done working with her, she was in a wheelchair because it had come back. So those are scary things that
For sure.
that we deal with as parents. What is the event that you have coming up here soon? What's going on in your world? I think last time it was like the crawfish boil that we
Yes.
had in
Because
April.
it was April,
Yeah,
it was the crawfish boil. So this one is our, it's called the Hope Weekend. It is a 3-day long event. It's the most exciting, fun. We make a ton of money. We raise a ton of money. We spread a lot of awareness, get people to know what we're doing with the foundation. It's really a celebration of the progress that we've made over the year. That's the goal of this event. So there's a couple dinners that we do. There's a dinner at Touchdown Terrace on Friday, the 20th.
Wow. Okay.
We have a big auction during that time. The researchers come out and share what they've been working on throughout the year. And then Saturday we play golf all day long.
Oh, so that's a great. How many people will be involved in that?
So there's about 300 people that come on Friday through dinner, and then there's another about 300 people on Saturday that play golf.
And where does the golf take place at?
At Hawkstone Golf and Country Club.
Okay. Is it sold out? Or can people still get tickets? Where do they go to get them, or for any of the events?
I have a couple of sponsorship opportunities still available. They can go to our website, which is www.tylershope.org.
Okay. And one of the things that you and I were talking about during our before we got on, this started as Tyler's, something, a lot of times when we hear of charities like this, as personal opinion too, mark that, we start thinking that it's for this family. And this may have started for this family. What you do is like amazing. The people involved, the doctors, go to that website and just read the breadth of what they do. It's amazing. It's so much more than Tyler and his family.
Absolutely. I mean, and you're right. That's how it started. It grew from one family to, there are over 500,000 people who suffer from this movement disorder. And Tyler's Hope now not only supports that family, they support the 500,000 families in the United States alone. Yeah.
Amazing. And like, are there different programs in the doctors I'm talking about? Is it at UF Health that is a center of this, or where is the center of the research that is being done for this?
So we started funding to help create this Center of Excellence, which is basically FIXAL at UF has become the epicenter of dystonia research.
Okay.
They have created a center that's basically a one-stop shop for patients, right? So it's really difficult when patients have movement disorder to go from different appointments on different days. Like just the transportation alone is difficult. So what they've done is they created this center where everything is housed. So they see their neurologist, they see their physical therapist, they see an occupational therapist, they can see a psychiatrist, they can see a nutritionist. Anybody that they need to see that's on their list is housed in that one center.
Wow.
So yeah, we just University of Florida is a Center of Excellence, and then we also just named Duke University a Center of Excellence as well.
So you have two of those now.
That's correct.
And how long, like when the patient or the person comes in, are they there for a long time, or?
Yeah, they'll spend hours at that, depending on who they have to see and how many people they have to see. But the majority of the feedback is they'd rather spend hours in one place than have to come back another day. Because we also have people who come. There's people who come from Ireland.
That was my point.
Right.
They're flying in from someplace because there's only two of these centers.
Correct.
And they're flying in from someplace, and are they here for weeks or days, or that was my.
Yeah, I just sat with a patient a couple weeks ago that came in from Miami. She flies to Gainesville, does all her appointments for the day, and then flies back.
How often do they have to do that?
It depends. It depends on the patient, but sometimes it's every 3 months, sometimes it's every 6 months. So it just depends.
We're going to take a break here. You're watching MotivationU, the podcast. We're talking with Heather Parker from Tyler's Hope, and we're going to learn a lot more about the disease and maybe about some of the hope going forward. Coming to you live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill inside the coach's podcast room. This is MotivationU, the podcast.
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Looking for more reasons to celebrate? We have them here at Celebration Point. Enjoy some of the newest additions to our already celebratory lineup, like Dave & Buster's, Les Macarons, and Prime and Pearl. There's always a reason to celebrate. Join us anytime for any occasion. Celebration Point, where Gators come to celebrate.
Welcome back to Motivation U, the podcast. My name is Bob Ganzak. She is Heather Parker, Executive Director of Tyler's Hope. We've been learning about Tyler's Hope and the challenges that, that they've overcome. And we were talking about these centers of excellence. You have one here at UF. One is opening or has opened at Duke.
It's opened at Duke.
It's opened at Duke. Is there sites in the future for other places that you would like to go?
Sure. Yeah, we've been approached by a couple of people recently that we're in talks with about opening another center. But there's a couple of requirements to open a center for us. So basically, you have to have a breakthrough in the field. So that's one of the big requirements. But then we want you to have a fellowship program. There's all of these things that we need to be in place before we can move forward, because the whole point is to grow the field. We're trying to get new people to come in and focus on dystonia.
Mm-hmm. At Duke, did they, I mean, I don't know how many square feet it takes to have a program like that. Did they build a new building, or did they just house it inside a section of?
So I think basically they had started off kind of small, and then they outgrew their space, and so they had a new place on campus, and then outgrew their space and had a new place on campus. So the place that they're in right now is fantastic. It's beautiful. It's houses all the specialties that need to be seen.
And what are some of those specialties, if you can remember them, that you?
Yeah, so they need to see a neurologist. They need to see physical therapy a lot of times, or occupational therapy, or both. You have to see a psychiatrist, and then nutrition is a big one. Psychiatry, people think that's kind of like, why would you need to see that? But you do. You suffer from a lot of emotional things when you're dealing with a movement disorder. But two, if you want to have before you can have surgery, you have to see a psychiatrist too, to make sure that you're fit to do that. That's one of the boxes you have to check.
And this disease can attack at any age?
At any age, yeah.
And you work mainly with the younger children.
So we focus on DYT1. So there are a ton of adults who have DYT1 that are dealing with these issues. It primarily presents in childhood, but it can present later in life. So,
and when you talk about the psychological side of it, that has to be, like in Tyler, it's he and his sister.
Samantha.
Both have the disease, right?
Yes.
And then, is it a brother that?
Yes.
Okay. So those are, I mean, just the dynamics within that family, that has to be, dealt with, and it must be a beautiful thing to watch when they start working together.
It really is. They're very close. It's kind of funny, when Luke was younger, he's the brother who does not have dystonia, but when he was younger, they played lacrosse, and you could pick your number, and he picked 40. But nobody knew why he picked 40, and then one day his dad asked him, and he said it's 4T. Like for Tyler, because they call him T.
4T. Wow. That's just bring a tear to your eye.
I know.
That is incredible.
What amazing, profound thing for a small kid.
Mm-hmm. Now, with Luke, are they able to check to make sure that gene is not there, or could he?
So they have not checked, and again, he could be a carrier. I mean, I think when the time comes when he has children, he might want to get checked, but for the time being, he doesn't. I feel like it's one of those things for me personally. I would have a hard time knowing, because then you think everything that happens. What if this is it? What if this is the last day? What if this I have a shake today, so maybe that's something. So it's not worth, for me, it's not worth.
That's great insight for people that don't know, though, because those are questions that everybody will have. Talk about the team, the doctors, And how did you bring these doctors in, and how did they get involved, and what is their relationship like with Rick and Michelle? You know,
They're really close. I mean, they're very close with Rick and Michelle. They're very close with the foundation. Again, we have a lot of regular conversations. How are the kids? How's everything going? Because I want them to know that we care about them as people too. I'm so incredibly grateful for the help and support that we get from them, and I want their minds forever. But I also want to know that we care about them as a person.
how did you find these doctors? I mean, that are on your team? Like, I'm looking at your website right here, and I mean, it's not like they were living down the street.
Right.
You know?
So it's a pretty tight knit group. The people who focus on dystonia. So years and years and years ago, I think 14 years ago now, they started the think tank. So basically, Rick kind of went to somebody and said, "What do we need to do to cure this?" And they said, "We need money and we need the support, the people, the researchers." So how do we get them? He said, if you could do something kind of like the Manhattan Project, that would, I think we could do it. Granted, we don't lock them into a room, but we did start the think tank where we bring all of these researchers together, and the rule is you've got to leave your ego at the door. So everybody shares what what they've been working on, and then we give grants based on all of those things. But a lot of times the grants will be, you're working on one part of this, he's working on another part of this. If you guys partner up, we're going to be done in no time. So we're going to fund you, but we're going to fund you to work together. So there's a lot of those things.
And they work from different locations?
Absolutely. Yep.
Do they ever get down here to this center of excellence and see each other face to face, or?
Yeah, they see each other pretty regularly. There's a lot of meetings, and a lot of the people that we work with are the top people in their field. So they speak a lot at all of these conferences and different symposiums. We actually have one coming up in November. Normally we do it here at the University of Florida, but we're doing it in Washington, D.C. We're going to be a satellite event for SFN, was the Society for Neuroscience. So the goal of that is to bring in some new researchers as well, bring in some new fresh blood to kind of support the people that we already have on the ground. But yeah,
Are most of these doctors that you work with, are they focused on one disease, or is this like part of like a neurologist? Do they focus on dystonia, or is it like part of their portfolio?
some of them it's part of their portfolio, but a lot of them really focus, and their specialty is dystonia. But they work with essential tremor patients and Parkinson's patients and Huntington's patients and Tourette's patients, but really they'll focus on one specific area.
So you get a good chunk of their brain to focus on what your goals are.
Yes.
That's my point. You know, after I had somebody ask me, we were talking about Ed Potts, who's on the board of directors of Ronald McDonald House. We both share him on LinkedIn. And we talked 2 weeks about the Ronald McDonald House and about that charity and everything that was going on. And somebody asked me, what does that have to do with leadership? If you don't see what this person is orchestrating, organizing, this personifies leadership. I mean, this is what it's all about. It's one thing to lead a group of people when you see them every day. You have 8 salespeople on your team and you're their leader, and they come into your office every morning and you sit around a table. You are like, remember the orchestra leader for the Boston Pops when I was a little kid, Arthur Fiedler, I think was his name. You're like that. I mean, you are orchestrating people across the world, across the country.
I'm trying.
How do you keep that all in line?
Sometimes I
the
don't.
fact that you have children also
Sometimes
that
I don't.
that You have to put your phone in your watch outside so that you're not getting calls.
Alarms are going off all the time. My daughter is diabetic too, so I have an alarm if her blood sugar goes low. So I didn't want it to interrupt. I told Dad, "You're on duty for the next hour."
So tell me about how you do this leadership wise.
Sometimes I will tell you that sometimes it's easier than others, but I do feel like I've created these relationships now. So even when, so for instance, we have the event coming up in 2 weeks, then we have DC coming up, we have there are runs in the first week in December, we have a ton of things coming up, and I don't want any balls to drop. So I'm very, I feel very scattered, even though I may not be, and I feel like we've created these relationships with people that now, even when if I don't call you for a while, I had 3 board members call me this morning already. Like, I haven't talked to you. What do I need? What do you need from me? What can I do for you? What can I take off of your list? So things like that, I feel like those relationships are invaluable, right? Because I need that. I need the support too. So it's not me orchestrating. I feel like we're all kind of in this together.
Sometimes you just need the place to vent, or the pat on the back, or the person to say, "What can I do for you?"
Right.
That's, and you don't get, we don't always understand the feedback that we get constantly. Not just the verbal feedback, but the smile, or the fist bump.
Yep.
The things that, as leaders, that fuel us. Because you need the fuel too.
Absolutely.
And you get it from your team many times. When they succeed, when they have a success in the business world, boy, that's great for a leader. It makes you feel great.
Oh yeah.
And you don't get that. You don't get that immediate feedback every day, or that support. How do you deal with that part of it?
I am forever reminded of Samantha and Tyler. So no matter what, their picture is on my computer, and when I'm feeling down or I'm feeling out, like, my day is never, whatever I'm struggling with, can't even touch what they struggle with every single day. So I don't necessarily feel like I need that. I need to just be reminded sometimes.
When you say that, Heather, I first thing that came to my mind listening to you was that the things that we complain about could be the best day to somebody else.
100%.
Boy, I'd love to have that problem.
Right.
The microphones don't work. Oh, what a cool thing to be able to do, right? Wouldn't it be neat to have that as my biggest problem today?
Right.
That the microphones don't work. That's just
well, when you were talking about the receipt, all I kept thinking was, that's like one of my top 5, like, peeves. Is there's no receipt paper, because some people have to turn in their receipts
that was
for
my
things,
point.
for
The
business.
2 guys in front. For me, my accountant says do it. It's not a big deal. I can write it down.
Right.
The 2 guys in front of me, in line, have to turn in their paper.
Right.
Right.
So
Now
it ticks me off that I have to walk inside, but I'm walking inside. I don't have to take my chair out of my car. I don't have to wheel myself inside. I don't have to get my chair back in my car, get back, like, those things.
And we go back to the psychological side of it. We got about 3.5 minutes left, but we go back to the psychological side of it. And to me, I think in my personality, that would be one of my biggest challenges, was that somebody else had to do something for me. That's what I would struggle with. I know when I get sick, or I get hurt, or I had a pinched nerve a few weeks ago, and I was stuck in the hospital for 12 hours. It wasn't the pain in my neck. It was the person that was giving up her time to be there with me that bothered me the most.
Yep.
And that's such a huge challenge in my thought process of that. How is that a big part of what you see in people that have that?
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge struggle. It's a huge struggle we have one patient who I've become pretty close with, who can't drive anymore. And the fact that she has to rely on somebody to take her from place to place is, I mean, it eats at her every single day. And it's just little things like that that I feel like a lot of times I take for granted too. And I have to remind myself, this is why I'm doing this.
We got it pretty good, don't we?
Yeah.
What is the future, the hope for finding a cure?
We're making really big strides right now.
How do you know you're making strides? What is the...
So part of being involved with Tyler's Hope is these researchers report back to us. So we get regular updates on what's happening, where the research is going, what direction they're moving, if they need anything, and that's really it too. If they need anything from us, what can we do to help, kind of a thing. And so with that, we're getting great positive feedback that this is moving in the right direction. Here's the funding that we're going to need to make this happen. So we're just kind of trying to make sure we have all our ducks in a row so that they can get to the finish line.
Give us that website again, and how can people get involved, and what are some of those dates coming up that you can share with share with the
So
group?
our website is www.tylershope.org. On the website, there's links to sign up to be a volunteer. There's links to sign up to sponsor events. If you're interested, the Hope Weekend is coming up. It is going to be from October 19th through the 21st. Our event in DC, the Think Tank, is going to be on November 10th. And then back in Gainesville again, we're going to be doing a fun run here. It's a Season of Hope 5K, 15K, and that is going to be on December 9th.
And where does that take place?
That's on the Hawthorne Trail over
Hawthorne
in
Trail.
Bulwer Springs. We start at Bulwer Springs and then they kind of circle around and come back. And Hawthorne Trail is just gorgeous.
Heather, you can come back anytime you want.
I would love
Just
to.
Great
This was very
conversation
fun.
And mom, executive director, cheerleader, everything that you do, it's amazing. And thank you for what you do for the community and for Tyler's Hope.
I appreciate it.
Very much. This has been Motivation U, the podcast, coming to you live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill at Celebration Point. See you next week.